Hi guys.
Hi everyone.
Sorry for the panic face. Our desktop
we're going old school, like show number 1 with the laptop.
Yeah, it's not really old school, but I know.
Well, it's old school after you've done 115 shows. So
yeah, with
it's
this
old school.
We got this fancy camera. Anyway, everything backfired. Hi guys. It is Stars in the House. Let's get it out of the way. The bookcase is color coordinated because our daughter Julie did it for us. So people are always fascinated with it. But as you see, by the way, it's so bizarre that there are that many books, different colors. But anyway, that's the back of us.
Yes, it is. I turn off my phone because all we were doing for the last couple minutes was...
Okay, so Stars in the House is a fundraiser for Actors Fund. We do it twice a day, 2 p.m., 8 p.m. Eastern. Let me first say what the Actors Fund is, because it is basically a title that means nothing. It's for anybody in the arts. So you can be an actor, singer, dancer, musician. So you could be in front of the on stage. You could also be behind the scenes doing anything regarding the arts, like a hair, a makeup person, hair person. You could be in front of the camera. And by the way, cameras work like it's still 1902, right?
Well, the Actors Fund did exist then.
That is true. So you could be in front of the camera. You could be behind the camera. So if you go to the Actors Fund, you go to actorsfund.org. And you can ask for things like people need help right now paying their rent, paying their groceries, paying their medical bills, paying their health insurance. You can ask for help, actorsfund.org. But if you can give some help, which we would love, you go to starsinthehouse.com and then tell them the trickster part. You
will donate. You'll send your receipt to starsinthehouse2020@gmail.com. And we will have one of the lovely cast members read your name and donation.
Yeah, like you remember Joe Lou's telethon? Like, we've got some donations from. So once you donate at starsinthehouse.com, you're going to get a receipt. Just forward that to starsinthehouse2020@gmail.com.
Yeah, and we're up to over $347,000 raised for the Actors Fund.
Just from you guys. Just watch people that watch the show and they donate $5, $10, $20.
Right.
We don't have any corporate donations, which by the way, we would love, but we don't have any. So just people donating a little bit of money that's a crazy,
it's pretty
I'd love to see, I should go back to the day by day. I'm really curious, like how it's been raised like that. We're $340,000.
Well, we're here today for Falsettoland, but before we get started on that, it would be remiss of us. Is that the right word, Mr. SAT?
We would be remiss.
We would be remiss not to mention a little bit about what's going on in the world, in this country in particular. You've got the pandemic, and now you've got a lot of SHIT going on that has been going on in this country for a really long time.
Yeah.
And we are going to, I'm sure in the next couple of weeks, do a special Stars in the House. I believe our beneficiary will probably be the NAACP.
Which we've worked with a lot.
Which we've worked on we've done 13 Concerts for America. Faith Prince did one of them.
All right, San Francisco.
In San Francisco. And 11 out of the 13, NAACP was one of our partners. So I am sure that they will be a partner again with us coming up in the next few weeks.
And Equity just released a statement. I didn't even read it because it just got released like 2 minutes ago about what's going on. So just know we're aware of it, and we're definitely gonna target it.
But because this is probably one of the last times I'm going to talk during this, because Seth is so obsessed with the show.
Yeah,
I am too, but I didn't see it like Seth
times.
did. And I saw Falsettos.
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 What the hell show is that?
In LA, I think is now the Kirk Douglas Theater, or maybe now it's the Montalban Theater. Anyway, in Hollywood, and it was and still is one of my favorite shows. But I don't have the same obsession as him. So the last thing I'll say is Stars in the House not only raises funds for the Actors Fund, but it also is about lifting spirits. And so,
yes, exactly.
I know some people have said, well, maybe you need to, we've seen some talk about, well, why aren't you addressing what's going on more? And I think part of what...
Or they're like, take a break. I'm like, we're not taking a break. People don't have any money. People have to have money. Well, and that's what this is for, to live. And also people need to be cheered the hell up.
That's right. And that's what the arts has always been about. And the last thing I'll say is that it also is, would also be, you can talk more about it than we haven't mentioned about the late Larry Kramer, and speaking of AIDS and activism and that sort of thing.
He just passed away.
He just passed away. Yeah. So
it's all basically related.
Yeah, it is actually.
Okay.
What?
No, it's all really nice comments. Yeah, they're all actually really nice though. Okay, so the last thing we have to say is that we can't have more than 6 people on the screen at the same time. So we have to divide up. Even though it's a teeny tiny band, we have to divide up everybody throughout the show. So just be prepared. We can't have everybody's mug on screen at the same time because we don't got enough room. Here we go. So I thought we'd start with kind of like the originals in a sense, to talk about how everything began back in the day. And by the day, I mean literally the late 70s, rehearsing down Scary Playwrights Horizons.
Before you get, in case I know we have a lot of regulars who watch, because it is such a large cast today, a large group, Dr. LePook will not be with us tonight.
So we told Dr. LePook, peace out.
Peace out.
Too big a
he actually texted us and he said, I saw how many people are on tonight. Do you want me? And of course we want him, but it becomes too much. So
it's too hard. So yes, talk in trousers. That is what we're going to talk about. So let's first talk about that. So what? Okay, here we go. So these are the original clowns from those days. Yes, everything's delayed.
There's so many. Well, there's so many
people that things get delayed. Anyway, here we go. So these are the original clowns that started back in the day. So now, by the way, the best lighting I've ever seen in my life. This is teen model from 17 magazine, Stephen Bogardus. I can't.
That's true, James. Thank you.
Hi, Stephen. Okay, then I'm going to bring on another person that was down there rehearsing those. What? What? Okay, but I think you have a delay, but I'm going with it. Then you have the lovely Michael Rupert. Hi, Michael.
Hey guys, how are you? Hi, Stephen, James, Seth,
Michael.
Well, so here we are.
Please call him Whizzer.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Then we have your psychiatrist who winds up sleeping with your wife, Mr. Chip Zien. Hi, Chippy.
Hi, guys. How are you? Hi, everybody.
And then there's Chip.
So I'm going to talk to you three first because you guys were there back in the day. So back in the 70s, right? Bill Finn was writing In Trousers, and were all three of you in that show?
No. No, where's the? There you go.
All three of us have played Marvin at one point.
Yes, all three of us have actually played Marvin.
You know that Bill Finn was the original Marvin. He played Marvin in Trousers, and at some point he decided to step out, and I became Little Marvin. He was Big Marvin. He referred to me as Little Marvin, and
Did he really? That's funny.
Yeah.
Chip,
that's how I got involved.
But were you rehearsing at Playwrights when they had those crazy rehearsal hours?
It was really early on. It was, I guess, 77. When was it? 77. And Playwrights was not, it was the old Playwrights, and so there was a certain amount of danger getting into the theater.
Yeah,
hanging out on the street was a little dangerous.
That theater row was not what it is today.
Yeah, I mean, I think Bob Moss used to come down and let us in. It was in those days before, but it had been a strip house, or they showed porno movies in what became the Playwrights' first theater. So that's I was on my way to LA. I was going to leave New York, and I got a tape of Bill Finn singing the songs from In Trousers, and I thought, this is unbelievable. And I auditioned, and he told me I was terrible, and that I should I was singing Jackie from Jacques Brel in those days, and sometimes playing it on the piano. And he said, stop playing the piano, stop singing that song. I've heard it a million times. I don't want to hear it anymore. Stand on the piano, put your hands in your pockets, and sing Happy Birthday or something. Anyway, I got the part, and I thought, this is the weirdest thing I've ever been involved in my life. I don't know, but I love the tape that he sent me.
All of Bill Finn's compliments are laced with an insult, and that's what makes him adorable. It's always a push-pull. Okay,
yeah. Adorable is a good word.
Exactly. How did you get involved, Michael Rupert?
Well, I auditioned for March of the Falsettos, and I auditioned for Jim Lapine, for Jim, and then he, I guess, liked me, and then I had to go audition for Finn, and he had me bring every piece of music. Jim had me bring in every piece of music that I had ever sung, every piece of sheet music I had, which was a stack this high. And Jim and I went through all of the songs, and he kept saying, Finn will hate that song. He hates that song. He hates this song. He hates that song. And I finally sang a Randy Newman tune. And they gave me the job. And it was interesting the first first 2 or 3 weeks, because I think Bill secretly really wanted to still be playing Marvin, I think, because he certainly let me know in uncertain terms that maybe I wasn't doing what he wanted me to do. He came around, I guess, but it was interesting.
Can I just add at this point, he took me out for lunch and he said, you're not playing Marvin anymore. When March the Falsetto started, he said, no, you're not right. It's not right. You're too short. What he said. I think there were other reasons, but that's what he actually said.
Yeah.
It could have been worse. And Bogey, how did you get involved?
I wasn't cast originally. Billy's ex-partner was cast, John Sloman.
John Sloman.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
And they were. He went in for a replacement in Day in Hollywood, the United and Night in the Ukraine. He got cast, came back, told Billy and Lapine that he was starting rehearsals the next day, and they needed to replace him. They brought in like 10 guys, right in a row. And Billy said, "Sing something loud, really loud." And I sang "Pinball Wizard" from Tommy the Who, and got a call later in the afternoon and said, "You're Wizard."
I love that with John Sloman, because first of all, John Sloman also was Tony in the West Side Story revival, like you were back in the 80s.
Yeah.
And John told me that he actually is half Jewish, and that's why there's half Jewish in the opening number of March. I
think that's true.
Yeah, there you go.
It's all connected.
Steve was really fun when he showed up for the first day. It was like a lot of laughs. It was buoyant. It was a buoyant atmosphere at that point.
Are we allowed to use 4-letter words on this telecast?
Yeah.
You can?
Yes.
No, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I didn't know what kind of show I was in. It was
like, what the hell?
Well, I even remember. I don't know if you guys remember this, but I remember having a conversation with Chip in rehearsal before we got in front of an audience with March of the Falsettos, saying, "What are we doing? What is this show?
Yeah.
What are we? We're out there going, 4 Jews in a room, we're doing this thing." And I have to say, Lapine, I don't know if you remember this, Chip, but Lapine is the one who said to us, "I think, just relax, guys. I think there's something here." Because I actually went to Jim and said, "Does any of this make sense at all?" I mean, I just thought, like, are they going to hate us? And Lapine was right. I mean, the very first audience, I don't know if you guys remember that, the very first audience we had in that little tiny theater upstairs for 100 people or something, for March of the Falsettos, they absolutely went crazy. And we thought, holy shit. What happened? What happened? Because I actually thought, I think, is this bad? I don't know if it's bad. I don't know if it's good. I don't know. I don't know what it is.
I had gone into Andre Bishop's office at that time, and I said, you cannot open this show. I did it again. So I said, you cannot open the show. It's not ready. Don't do it. And about 2 days later, that little audience came in. And they just loved it, and I thought, like, oh shit, I was so wrong. It just, there it was. Anyway, Frank Rich too was heavily involved because he really liked it, and that helped us.
Yeah, Frank Rich just gave it an amazing review.
Yeah,
and
but I'm curious.
That put us on the map.
Yeah.
I'm curious, guys, because I listened to the music and immediately
this is March the Falsettos we're talking about.
Yeah, but I listened to it and the music makes my heart melt. I mean, wasn't that enough to kind of overcome your doubts that it would not work in front of an audience? Just curious.
We were still putting numbers into the show right up until the last week. I mean, we had these, we had 3x5 cards, and we would put them out on the floor. And he said, this song is here, and this is, we need a song there, and we need a song there. And that was maybe even more evident in Falsettoland, but it was always the way we went. We just went by the seat of our pants.
Little index card. Yeah. And so Billy, go home and keep writing. Don't sit here in the theater. Go home, write another song.
Right.
Wow.
So for people that don't know, so In Trousers was the very, very first one. Then March of the Falsettos happened in 1980. And then there was an actual sequel to March of the Falsettos called Falsettoland and was actually successful. Unlike Bring Back Birdie, Falsettoland actually was a hit. And then both got put together in Falsettos. But let's talk about Falsettoland for a second. Let's bring on your lovely wife who joined. She was not the original Trina. That was Allison. But then the wonderful Faith Prince came into the show. So Faith Prince, you were Trina and you were amazing. Hi, Faithy. Uh-oh.
Hey,
Hi, Faith.
Hey, Faith.
hey, Faith.
I know that Bill Finn, I think, wanted you. I'm hearing crunching, some weird sound effect. Anyway, I know that Bill Finn wanted you to play Trina. Do you remember your audition, Faith?
I can barely hear you, Seth. I'm sorry.
No,
You asked me about Trina.
yeah, but I think, Faith, I think you should leave and then come back. Re-sign on. Okay, that helps sometimes. So I'm going to bring on. Okay, that sometimes helps. Okay, I'm going to bring on your lovely son, who's no longer 13. He's now 14, 14 and a half. Please welcome Danny Gerard. Hi, Danny.
Hi, Danny.
Yes.
Hey, Dan.
So, Danny, you this was kind of just a couple years after Les Mis when you got Falsettoland, right?
Yes. Yeah. I walked into the room. I'll never forget, and just listening to them talk about March of the Falsettos. I mean, my mother and I walked into the room, and we had read the script, and we had no idea what was going on. I mean, from a 13-year-old who came from a pretty, traditional Italian family. I had done a couple of things. I mean, I had been in Les Miserables. I'd done an awful Broadway show called Into the Light at that time. I don't know if any of you.
I remember that show.
Dean Jones talking about the Shroud of Turin. So, and we walked into the room, and I had no idea what was going on. And we read the script as if it were like supposed to be dialogue, and it was all obviously lyrics. And my mother and I just sort of looked at each other and went, "Hey." and it became the most important artistic experience of my life.
Wow.
Oh, I love that. How come? Why do you feel that was for you? What was so amazing about it for you?
Well, I'm not sure that I would have said that then, but just in as time passed and, in retrospect, listening to all the music, I'm actually, I've actually listened, especially since the revival, listened a lot back to the music, and you sort of start to revisit your past. You get a little older. I turned 43 yesterday. So.
Oh, happy birthday.
Yeah, thanks. And, you just get nostalgic, but you know what the truth is that I've not gone back and listened to Les Mis. In fact, I saw the movie and wish I hadn't, because I kept singing it in my head. And, I was on another television show, and things that I've done in my life that were important, but it always came back to Falsettoland, and it always came back to the people I worked with there. And these guys who, I'm always happy to see and hadn't seen many years until the revival. Was 2016, the revival?
Yeah.
And that was really when I sort of reconnected and got a chance to, I had lunch with Steven a few times and Chip a few times. And you just remember that these people made a difference. And I'm not sure that the only credit I'll give myself, not every 13-year-old could deal with Chip. I mean, that's,
It's getting a laugh. You guys were so good together, though. Hold on, let me see if I can actually find it. Hold on 1 second. I found this clip, and it's not the easiest thing to see, but I think this is it. Look how great you guys are together. I think this is it. Let me see.
Everyone hates his parents. That's in the Torah. It's what history shows. In fact, God said to Moses, everyone hates his parents. That's how it is. And God knew, because God hated his. You are gonna kill your mother. Don't feel guilty. Kill your mother rather than humiliate her. Killing your mother is the merciful thing to do.
Jason, darling, don't get nervous. I'm right here and at your service. Look, I'm calm and self-deluded and grateful, 'cause I hope you'll do what I pray you'll do.
Go ahead and kill your mother.
Not the guts, but kill your mother
Rather than humiliate her. Killing your mother is the merciful thing to do. Everyone hates his parents, now I see why. But in time they'll cool out, and you'll think they were only fooling. It's a strange thing about parents. Push turns to shove, what was hate becomes more or less love.
Jason, please see a psychiatrist.
I'm a psychiatrist. I get lost. Everyone hates his parents. This too shall pass. You'll grow up.
I went through, I went big.
And they'll hate you too. Oh, everyone hates his parents. But I guess you'll grow up.
I grow up.
You'll get old.
I get old and hate.
And hate less.
Oh my.
Sweet.
Danny, that was awesome.
That's great.
Choreography by Michael Starobin.
The orchestra.
For those of you who don't know.
Just to clarify, though, that what I meant by what I was saying about Chip and it applied to everyone in the cast is that they treated me like an adult, and I had sort of, I guess at that time, more kind of adult sensibility. I've been around adults like my whole life. I mean, more than I was around. I mean, I went to school, but like I was most influenced by the adults in my life. And Chip, Michael, and Steven to this day are, people who, just did a lot for me in ways that, and I think they don't know. I actually had an exchange with Chip about it one time about, a little bit of an argument that we had that actually really helped me as a human being. So, being 13, I'm not sure that every 13-year-old would have been okay with that, but I'm very kind. It was a discussion. It was a discussion, Danny, but there was nobody as gifted as this 13-year-old child is Danny.
And I just have to jump in because I have to say, to Danny's credit too, I mean, how many 13-year-olds are called on to play a role like Jason? What that character deals with, and what he goes through in Falsettoland, especially in March of the Falsettos as well, but in the second half, and the decisions that he makes, it's like 13-year-olds don't do that kind of stuff. They do School of Rock, which there's nothing wrong with School of Rock. It was fun, but it's quite a role for a 13-year-old. And Danny, you did all right.
Thanks, Mike.
Danny was so sophisticated for a
Danny, I don't ever remember an argument that I had with Chip that helped me in life.
And on that note,
I gotta tell you though that Chip said to me when I had this email conversation with him a couple of years ago, he said, "Steven almost killed me when I was yelling at you."
I think the argument I have with Steve,
I love Steven for that, and I love Chip for that too. So
the argument I have with Steve though is a little different. Michael had to pull us apart. It was over our respective ages, which is weird because I'm several years younger than Steve. And we had a bit of an argument in front of the New York Times about our ages.
We did indeed. Hey, Faith.
it all worked
Hi,
out.
Faith.
Hey.
Is it better? So, Faithy Poo, how did you get the job?
Well, I thought I was going in for one of the lesbians from next door. And that was the material I had prepared. And then James called me at home and said, "No, I want you as Trina." And I went, "Excuse me?" And he goes, "Yeah, I want you as Trina." And I was like, "Really? I thought I was going to be one of the lesbians from next door." He went, "No, Faith, just take the job. Trina. And it was so overwhelming. But I have to say, the boys, as we call them, they really sort of navigated me through what it was like to be part of a Fenn musical. And I just took their lead. In fact, Chip said to me one time, "Why are you so agreeable?" And I said, "Because you guys will fight for me and do whatever needs to be done." And I said, "Usually I'm in charge and I'm always the alpha dog and I don't need to be here." And it's wonderful.
And
That discussion was a little complicated too. I remember that. That had to do with. I think that had to do with who sings "For Unlikely Lovers." Never mind. Never.
I can't hear Chip.
Well, I wasn't sure it was the right four people. That was a little. I had a little issue with "For Unlikely Lovers."
So you went to Andre's
I hope that
office.
wasn't
and
about
Andre wasn't working on it. Okay, so hold on a second. Faith, by the way, you were cast. You're playing Jewish in the show, but you're decidedly not Jewish. Am I correct?
Yeah, I'm Southern Presbyterian. That's what I was raised. I'm not now. But yeah, that was, I think we were having like a coffee break, and I said, at some point, and Bill Fenn was there, and I said, some point, somebody needs to tell me what goes on at a bar mitzvah. And Finn did a spit take with coffee like everywhere, and he said, "You're not Jewish?" And I went, Southern Presbyterian. It was a moment, but I have to say, I played more Jewish and Italian women throughout my career than I have Southern. So
it's your signature.
It's one of my most beloved experiences. Honestly, the show was phenomenal, and I remember Lapine saying the same thing because at one point, everything was coming together, and Lapine goes, "No, I really think we have something here." So he was onto it, and I particularly loved it because of the people involved in the story and what it was about. But I loved that it was such an ensemble, and everybody had everybody's back, and it was a real team effort. And I remember just basking in that and never wanting that to go away.
I love that. Two things I want to say. We're getting the donations are coming in, so please God, make sure you forward your receipts. So once you donate at starsinthehouse.com, make sure you then forward that to starsinthehouse 2020 at gmail.com, and then I'm going to forward them. So Faith, before I bring on more people, I just want to talk about your song. When you got Holding to the Ground, Bill is such he's such a loud singer, and I used to have to transcribe his music. It's always like clunky on the piano. Like, what was it like when you first heard it? Were you like, what the hell is this going to be? What did you think?
Well, it was at his apartment, which is something. And I literally had to move. I had to move. This was not the one he had with his husband. This was the one he had that he worked out of on 90. I think was it 97th Street?
98.
Like that. It was in the 90s.
Broadway.
98. Okay. Because I was on that street initially one time. So he said, my piano's in my bedroom. I went, oh, okay. So I walked into the bedroom and I had to move the laundry off the bed to sit down. And he had written everything like sideways, lyric wise. And then he goes, well, just listen to this. Just listen, and he banged it out. And then he go, don't you hear that? And I said, Bill, is it written down anywhere? That would probably really help me. He goes, no, just listen to it and sing it. What's the problem? And it was unusual, but that was Billy, and he's a genius, and I finally learned it.
It's so, to me, I love the show so much, and so hard for me literally not to be like crying as I talk about everything here because it's so moving to me. But that song, it's so brilliantly written because it's about nothing being perfect. It's so real and not about like have a stiff upper lip and face it. It's just like everything is awful sometimes, and that's what life is. Like, what did you and Faith, by the way, people don't know, Faith and I were both in therapy together, the same therapist, group therapy for years. So did you love the therapy aspect of the song? Like, how did you enjoy performing it?
Well, I did, and I think I was pretty much at that point known as kind of a funny girl. So I just loved that Lapine looked into my soul and saw that, of course, usually anybody funny is very complex. And so I think it was the first time I remember doing a musical where it was just the most natural thing. And I really credit the guys for showing me like how to do that. I just never been a part of anything like that, where you move furniture around and you talk and you sing. It just was a very unusual experience. It wasn't like being Ada Wanney or Adelaide or anything like that. It was just, I was this mother, and at that time I wasn't a mother yet, but I was codependent and a caretaker. So it was perfect, and just that James saw that in me. But I do remember, however, in the hospital scene, I tried to get a little laugh at the end, and James came up to me and he goes, watch that. I went, no problem. I'll keep it under wrap, because I would crack everybody up in the hospital scene. I thought, honey, we need a little levity. Jesus, you know.
I have you doing the song, Bobby. Your voice sounds amazing. And for people that don't know, she was married to Marvin. They broke up. He came out as gay. He gets together with Whizzer, and Whizzer winds up getting AIDS. And she's just saying, like, this was so not a part of my life growing up in the 50s and 60s. I never thought it would be, but it is. So I have to deal with it. It's just brilliant. And you sound amazing. Here it is. It's crazy camera work, but just listen how great you sound.
This man who Marvin loves. That's my life. He shared my life. Yes, that's my life. Life is never what you planned. Life is moments you can understand.
Can't take it. So
yeah, pretty great.
Can I jump in? First of all, I haven't seen Faith in like 20 years. Hi, Faith. You can hear me? She can't hear me.
Faith, can you hear Danny?
I think there's a delay.
I
There's
can't.
a delay.
Yeah, that happens sometimes.
Damn it.
Well, I'll translate. Danny, say what you want to say.
What I was going to say is, first of all, hi, Faith, because I haven't seen Faith in so long.
Hi, Danny.
And then
I'm so glad to see you.
And then that line, trying not to care about this man who Marvin loves, is the essence of that song. Is that's what's important about that song, is that I'm trying not to care, but I can't help but care. That's the complexity that not just Falsettoland, but most of the falsettos had. And I think that sometimes gets overlooked because falsettos have always been like a sort of a political statement, I think, in a lot of ways. And yet it was also just about very real, like sort of unexpected circumstances. And I thought that the way that he, even more amazing than her voice, is the sort of delivery of that line, which is like, I have no choice, and I also care, and I love, and I don't know why.
Yeah,
you know?
I have to face it. Oh, it's just brilliant. Okay, I'm going to bring on one lesbian. Heather just dropped out, but I think maybe her Wi-Fi is bad. So, like I said, I can't have everyone on the screen at the same time. So, Bogey, go away for a moment. Your camera's too good for us to deal with anyway. I'm bringing on Janet Metz and her reflective lenses. Hi, Janet.
Hi.
Hey, Janet.
Hi, guys. Hi.
Janet was the original Cordelia, which is not March the Falsettos. The characters were added for Falsettoland. And now Janet and I were supposed to work together. I was doing Summer Stock, and Janet was cast as Edwin Drood and Eliza in My Fair Lady. So Crazy High Belting, Crazy High Soprano. And she quit because she got this reading at Playwrights Horizons. And I was devastated. So how did you get the job in the first place?
Well, hi everyone. It just warms my heart to see everybody and talk about this show and relive it for just a moment. I was not long out of college. I got an audition. I was handed a script to look at before the audition. It was titled 1981. There was no character description for Cordelia. So I flipped through the script and I sort of found the first lyric or dialogue. I wasn't sure if it was song or dialogue. And I sort of pieced together that she was a lesbian and a kosher caterer. And that was that. I mean, okay. So now I had to pick song selection of my own book. I probably just picked my go-to songs. And James, I remember very specifically, and I'm sure whatever I chose to sing definitely showed up some high belting because that was sort of my thing, or still is my thing. But not only that what he wanted to hear me sing something legit and soft. So we were just thumbing through my book and singing pieces of songs. And then I don't know how many weeks passed, but I got a call back. But I was, at the day of the callback, I was to be in Las Vegas for a McDonald's industrial.
Faith Prince style. Oh my God.
And I had never gotten an industrial, no less a McDonald's industrial. And I was singing like new lyrics to the Bette Midler song, Wind Beneath My Wings. I wish I remember the lyrics. Opposite Joe Blum. I guess I sort of had to like not say, my agent said, well, she can't attend the callback. Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I remember going home to my apartment in Hell's Kitchen and be like, wait a minute, can't go to this, like James Lapine, like March of the Falsetto. What? I have to go to this callback. So through, lots of phone calls, I was able to make it to that callback and once again sang what I sang before and a lot of very gentle, soft songs. And then I got the part. I found out, I think, the next day. And I wasn't very, very familiar with March of the Falsettos. I just sort of knew about it. So it was just, it was an extraordinary gift. And I just want to say it was a masterclass watching Chip and Michael and Stephen, the most authentic example of performing or just being natural in dialogue and song. It was extraordinary. And I do remember, and I will reveal this moment, there was a moment where James came up to, I think I was sitting with Faith and Heather. I just assumed it was directed to me, but who knows? And I don't know what was happening in rehearsals, but he came up to me and said, I don't want any of that musical theater stuff. I don't want any of that musical theater stuff. And I was just like, okay. All right. Okay. I think I got okay. And it was just an extraordinary experience. And I truly hold it as one of the most important pieces of theater that I'd ever had the opportunity to be involved in. I never forget the first preview. After the final note, there was silence. Mm. And I remember collectively, we all remember different things, but I remember that moment being behind that door and we all were like, wow, we have something like important here. It was just silent. And yeah. So.
That's great.
Yeah. I think Heather's working again, by the way.
I don't quite.
We'll try to bring Heather on.
We'll try.
Hold on. Danny, I'm going to bring you back. Let's see if Heather can come on. The other lesbian. She's frozen. Hi, Heather.
I really can't hear very well.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I
can't hear.
All right, Heather. We'll bring you back.
She looks great.
Yeah, look. Why don't I found another clip. Hold on. Why don't I show you guys? When you guys are actually in good moods, the very beginning. Yeah, the very beginning of the show.
Where did you find it?
I've got my ways.
Do you know?
That's
so fun.
I have a question for Faith. Faith, do you remember in the hospital room when we were setting up for the bar mitzvah, I handed Heather the cracker with the cheese whiz on it, and it was the lyric, "The food tastes really yummy, oh mommy," and she had like a piece of cheese hanging, and we lost it. We just lost it. I don't know if you remember that. And we lost. It was the most inappropriate thing we could have done in that scene.
Oh, I was praying. James was not in the house because I was already, in the red zone. Like,
and he was in the house. You don't remember that? We had been doing this show for months.
I do.
I thought.
Being really scared.
we were just like, oh my God. It was just one of those moments.
It was like being in church. It was like being in church and couldn't stop laughing, and the pew was shaking. I mean, I couldn't stop. I was in pain. I was in such pain.
It was like being
and
in
I knew I was
synagogue.
going to get in big trouble, and I still
Yes.
couldn't help it.
And then we found out he was there. Yeah.
See, one of the problems with doing a through composed show, of course, is if you start to laugh about anything and you lose where you are in the music, it can become a train wreck, just a little bit. It very seldom ever happened. There was one time when it happened with Steve and I in the racquetball. In racquetball, when there's a part where he turns around to Marvin, Wizard turns around to Marvin, and sings, "Play it smart, play it pretty, sex and games in New York City." And I don't know where Steve's head was at. I don't know if you remember this, Stephen.
Yes.
Stephen was always great, though, at making up lyrics that rhymed.
Yeah.
They actually rhymed. And he turned back at me and he said, "Play it smart, play it pretty, go ahead and pet my kitty."
My kitty.
That's what he gave me. And of course the music is continuing and I'm like starting to laugh. So, it took us, I think it took me a good 8 to 10 bars to get back on the music, because the music just kept going on. But it's hysterical when you can't stop in these.
Hey, can I speak just a moment to what Janet said about maybe our first preview, whatever it was, and
really
the very end of the show, and the very end of the show, and literally not, you couldn't hear a pin drop. I mean, you could hear a pin drop. When you were just describing that, I just got chills because, we were doing this show in 1990. It was right in the heart of the AIDS epidemic. Friends were dying, friends were sick. And we knew we were talking about we were telling a story that a lot of people in the audience were experiencing themselves. And I just, that was just a time we were in the midst of it all. And we were telling a story that had never been told on stage before. And it was just, I just got chills thinking about it again. It brings me right back to that time, which was a really difficult time for all of us.
Yeah. Faith, what were you going to say? You were going to say something, Faith.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, I was just saying any time with this particular show, I felt such a reverence to the subject matter that I just didn't want to pull any of my shenanigans, and I mean, really, it was a totally different sort of game for me. And I always felt like I was being bad in school. And so, but shit happens.
but there was a lot of reference because as Steve was saying, it wasn't a period piece. Like it was literally of the moment, like literally happening. And that's what was so unbelievable about it. That when it's done now, it's like, oh, everyone's in 90s outfits, but it was just happening.
Right.
Hey, Janet, I sent you some donations. Could you read them? I sent you a handful. I texted them to you.
Look on your phone.
Oh, on my phone. I need a second.
Okay.
Here we go. Just a moment, please.
There you go.
Please hold. Just a moment, please.
It's all right.
Talk amongst yourselves.
That's right.
Oh, yes.
Turn it on.
Well, let me ask Michael Rupert one more question. So, Michael, no one really gets an opportunity. Sometimes you get to do a revival of a show, but you got to do a revival of your character 10 years later. Like, what was it like playing the same exact? Well, I guess really all of you, Chip and Bogey.
Well, all of us, yeah.
The same character 10 years later. Did you understand yourself better?
Well, I mean, I think first of all, when Bill wrote Falsettoland, he kind of knew that he had to write a sequel to March of the Falsettos. I mean, don't you remember this, guys? What he talked about? I mean, it's like with the AIDS epidemic, with the AIDS crisis, he had to carry the story forward. And I think, quite honestly, I mean, I just think by the time we got in the late 80s, when we did like the first workshop of Falsettoland, what was that? Maybe 88, guys, or
It was 88. Called The Miracle
I
of
think I'm
Theater.
frozen. Can anybody hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you.
It's like it was like 88. But by the time we did the first workshop of Falsettoland, I think certainly Steve, Chip, and I had just kind of, we just kind of knew these characters, or we knew who these people were, and again, as Steve just pointed out, we were all also living through this. I mean, by 1988, fortunately, I didn't have a large number of friends pass away from AIDS, but I knew several people. I had several friends who did, and I knew what the theater community certainly was going through, and so to come back to Marvin, certainly, or Whizzer, or Mendel, or whoever, it just seemed like it was the right thing to do, and we just needed to continue telling the story.
And
We were 9 years older, but the story was only 1 year older.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
But also it was like returning to our family. It was a really comfortable feeling, and it was wonderful to be in the room with everybody again.
I love that. Well, hold on, Janet, you ready to read? Because I think I'm going to bring in your lesbian partner. So hold on.
Got it. Okay. Would you like me to read?
Yes, read in a lesbian.
Okay. Thank you, Shelley from Florida, $25. Sarah from Rockford, Illinois, $50.
Hope the actress.
Charles from California, $20. John from New York, $25. And Marsha from New Jersey, $100.
Thank you.
So, Janet, here's your partner. We're hoping that Heather's Wi-Fi's up to snuff. Heather, how you doing, lady?
I don't know what to do.
She's there.
Can you hear me? Can you hear
Yes. Yes, you can speak a little louder.
Okay. I don't know what, something's wrong, and this iPad's going to die any second because I borrowed it. So anyway, I'm trying to understand what you're saying. Okay.
Tell us how you got the job.
What?
How'd you get the job?
How did I get this job? I went and auditioned. I had worked with James Lapine and Chip Zien in Merrily We Roll Along, and my agent submitted me for it. I'd never seen In Trousers. I'd never seen March of the Falsettos. I didn't know anything about it, and I was like, wow, this is incredible. I thought it was such an extraordinary piece of work, and I just auditioned like everybody else. Faith was auditioning for the lesbians, one of the lesbians, and Janet was there. And when I got cast, I was kind of overwhelmed because I had never done a musical that was all sung. And it terrified me because I don't really read music, as they can attest to, all my castmates. In fact, Bogey's always the one who was keeping us together in For Unlikely Lovers. We're all going off pitch here. You better pull it together now. Come on. So I just was blown away by it's such an extraordinary piece of work. And I did the whole journey. I was like the last person I stayed in the Broadway show till the end, and I did the tours, and I love Falsettoland. I love falsettos. I love everything about it. I'm so glad to see you, Faithy. I miss you. It's an extraordinary piece of theater, and just the love that we all still have for each other is very evident. We all still get together and go have lunches at Joe Allen's, and sometimes we're asked to sing For Unlikely Lovers, and I don't know. It's very dear to my heart. I consider that I was very fortunate in my very long career of being the age that I am, that I was lucky enough to be in two groundbreaking musicals. One was Hair, and the other was Falsettoland Falsettos. So, yeah, I just auditioned like everybody else and kind of blew my mind.
Well, it's funny you say you drove in music as your harmony. I would listen to you and Janet so many times. I think I have a clip. I mean, like, obsessively listen to this. Let me make sure I'm in the right order. One, it says that it's clip number 7, but why do I 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? But I'm missing
Janet
clips.
Janet and Faith and I, we were very close, weren't we, girls? We were very close, the three of us. I'm still very close to everybody, from falsettos too.
I think this is you guys. Hold on. That's her. For 1 second. I want Janet and is this them?
Every cameras this way.
I did that already. Hold on. No, those two clowns. You know what I'll do? I'm going to skip that. Heather, I want to just say, because you've mentioned it.
Okay,
Danny,
I love you, though I can't see you.
They're all there.
Janet was very into her props in the show. And one of my favorite stories is one night when I was singing, something bad is happening, and she's coming out with her little drink, tell me what you think, and she'd bring in the little martini glass. And one night